Good morning, everyone. This is Raman from ARC Advisory Group, GM and Vice President, starting the 18th India Forum, the first virtual forum done from India. We are expecting around 500 people to participate in this event. And then you can see in the screen my colleagues, Rajkumar, and my colleague, another colleague, Leena Kanikaraj.
Hello.
So they will be the co-hosts for this program. Let me start with a brief introduction of the. First of all, I'd like to thank all the main sponsors. We have platinum sponsors Bentley and Uniper. We have global sponsor Siemens. We have several media sponsors and also industry associate sponsors. I'm not going to list out, so can I please have a look at all the media and industry associate sponsors. I'll just briefly run through the agenda for today and tomorrow. We have the first presentation from Divyang Shah from Reliance, followed up by a presentation by Anne-Marie from Bentley Systems. After that, we'll have a presentation from Bireshwar Roy from Siemens. After the presentation by Siemens, we have another presentation by Reliance, the digital twin applications. Then I will be presenting on the digital transformation overview. After that, there will be a presentation by Florian on how the COVID virus impacts everything. Coming today afternoon, we have a presentation by David Humphrey from Europe. He will be not only presenting, he will be moderating the session in the afternoon. Followed up by his presentation, there will be a presentation by Peter Saddington from Uniper. He will be speaking from London. We have next presentation from Dharmender from Haldol Topsy. He will be the next speaker after Uniper. Following Dharmender will be Madhusudan. He will be speaking from IIoT and Industry 4.0 India Connect, and he is from ACE Micromatic. After Madhusudan, we will have a presentation on Indian economic scenario by Rajkumar from ARC Advisory Group. This is the program for today. Coming to tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be introducing the speakers again tomorrow. We have the first presentation from Achyuta Ghosh, Head of Research, NASSCOM. He will be talking about state of AI adoption in India. Then next to that will be a presentation by Mr. Kannan. He will be speaking from Oman. He is from PDO. He will be speaking on the cybersecurity aspects. The next presentation will be by Amit from Bentley. That will be on operational excellence for discrete industry. After the presentation of Bentley, we'll have the presentation by Vivek Gupta, Assistant Vice President from DCM Shriram. He will be speaking on safety in process industries in the current scenario due to COVID and digital transformation initiatives. Next to the presentation by Vivek, we'll have the presentation by Ralph, Vice President from ARC Advisory Group, on industrial applications for blockchain. Then tomorrow afternoon, we have the presentation by Peter Davis from Uniper. He will be speaking from London on the continuous safe operation of competition declines against a changing operation. Followed up by him, we have a presentation jointly done by Mr. Sarang Pani, General Manager from NTPC, and also Mr. Goswami, Executive Director from NTPC. They'll be talking about the remote solution developed on the asset management. After the presentation by NTPC, we have a presentation by Tata Steel on digitalization by Gaurav Saran. Next to that, we'll have a presentation from Himanshu Joshi from TCE on the digital transformation for process industries. Then we have the last presentation coming up, Jim Fraser from ARC Advisory Group. He will be speaking from USA, the smart city planning on IEEE standardization for technology selection guides. So as you can see, we have speakers cutting across the globe speaking on our forum. In all, totally, we have about 21 presentations. We have about 6 presentations from ARC Advisory Group, 5 sponsors, and 10 invited speakers. So we expect a great activity. The only thing is that the presentations will be flowing in one after another, and there won't be any session for Q&A unless otherwise any speakers makes a presentation pretty fast, and then there is a time as moderators, one of us can ask some questions to the speakers. Otherwise, the presentations will flow in continuously. So before I start the first presentation from Divyam, I'd like to thank again all these main sponsors, platinum sponsors, Bentley and Uniper, and also the global sponsors, Siemens. I think we are just ready to start the next presentation. Okay. The first speaker, Mr. Divyam Shah, Group Lead, Instrument Reliability in Center of Excellence, Instrument Department from Reliance Industries Limited. He will be speaking on the open architecture in ICS, primarily on open process automation forum story. So he will be speaking on the OPA and also the experience of Reliance on the OPA and why Reliance would like to go ahead on OPA. Divyam sir, the stage is yours for you to take it forward. And please start the presentation. Can you
okay, so slides will be shared by you, correct?
No, you can share, no problem.
Okay.
You can play. That's fine.
So is it visible?
Yeah, please go ahead. It's quite visible and audible. Please go ahead.
Okay. So hello everyone. Good morning to all of you. Hope you and your loved ones are healthy. So today's presentation is going to be on open to bring open architecture in ICS. So these are the agenda points. We will introduction and overview, open versus rules, then motivation to join open process automation forum, description of the open process automation forum, values, who are the members involved in the open process automation forum, key concept, roles in ecosystem, OPAP working groups and status of the activities, then actualization of OPAP's concept to reality, and then we will summarize on the presentation. So in case if you have any questions, you can forward it to ARC or write it to me. My email ID was given in the front page. So let us go through introduction and overview. So let us see the motivation behind this change in open architecture. As you know, there is a continuous need to improve profitability by reducing operational cost and building competitiveness. Competition has always been a global for the oil and chemical companies, but now it is becoming more competitive than ever. So what is needed? So we need to squeeze inefficiencies out of the operations. We need to bring down operation cost by reducing maintenance cost and capex, thus bringing down the lifecycle cost and increasing the profitability. At present, there are few big pain points for operating companies. As you know, Microsoft is changing operating system continuously, and lifespan has reduced for any operating system from 7 to 8 years. And the pain points are difficulty in frequent upgradation and maintaining control system, and if not upgraded, security issues arises. The upgrades are painful because you may need software. You cannot introduce new technology in the control system as you can do it in IT. All these issues have motivated operating companies to push for the change. Systems designed in previous decades had not thought of any cybersecurity implementation as embedded thing. So currently, whatever solutions are available are bolt-on kind of thing. So how do we address these pain points? So these are the main reasons which have pushed for this change. Let us look at the classical layered architecture of the control system. So DCS functionality are typically layer 1 and layer 2. So DCS architectures are implemented at layer 1 and layer 2. These are closed and proprietary kind of thing. L3 and above use fairly interchangeable architecture that uses software and off-the-shelf hardware. However, issues are around ability to access data from layer 1 and layer 2, inability to insert the new application at this layer, and hardware and software at L1 and L2 are close kind of thing, and those cannot be replaced easily. So how does the OPAP model differ from what has come before? As you see, this is a OPAP architecture. New OPAP architecture is flatter kind of thing and completely different from classical Purdue model. There is a free flow of data for any application that needs it. The components are DCN, that is distributed control node. So all these are DCNs. Then ACP, advanced computing platform, which is high availability on-premise data center using SDN and virtualization. OCF, that is OPAS connectivity framework, that is based on OPC UA. So blue DCN, which are these DCNs, represents interface with the legacy system, existing system like DCS, PLC, analyzer system, machinery protection, field instrument, safety instrument systems. And yellow DCNs are represented as OPAS conformant components. So blue ones are not OPAS conformant components, whereas yellow ones are OPAS conformant components. Vision reflects Industry 4 and moves control closer to the edge layer of DCN. So let us now go through the scope of the OPAS. All functions run by DCS and PLCs are part of the scope. At the charter time, SIS was kept out of scope, as we will, but we will have an interface from PLC DCS to SIS as part of the scope. This is following the principle of strict separation of safety system from the control system. And for those components scope, OPS standard will mostly define the interface between these blocks in the diagram. How can we build a system from best of breed components from different vendors with the confidence that they will be seamlessly integrated together? So let us go through the Reliance motivation factor to join OPAS. As you know, RIL owns multiple refinery, petrochemical, and polyester sites with 5,000 plus control systems running. We have different control systems from different vendors across plants, and those are running. So what are the issues we are facing with the control systems? Frequent obsolescence of Microsoft OS, as you are aware, its life cycle has reduced to just 7 to 8 years, and with after any OS is DCS or OT vendor takes his own time to test his software with new OS, and then the life cycle span of the Microsoft OS is reduced to 5 to 6 years only. So once the OS is declared obsolete, the patches are not available for OS, and then security vulnerability remains unaddressed. Once you decide for upgrade, so normally front-end upgrade is required to change over the OS, but then at the same time vendors ask controller firmware to be upgraded together. This controller firmware can be upgraded online, but then there is a risk involved in that. So normally end users decide to do it in shutdowns only. If we take a shutdown, then our shutdown ranges from 3 to 7 years. Considering the life cycle of the OS, if I take a plan with a shutdown of 7 years, then I have to upgrade front end every 7 years, that is in every shutdown. And that is a very high cost of upgrade. So upgrade requirements comes up every shutdown, and then once it is upgraded, the competency building is required because you have to maintain and operate the system. So competency building is one more major issue. You have a issue with protection of intellectual property because of frequent upgrades. Then demand on higher profitability because the cost is very high for the upgrade, and then there is a bolt on cybersecurity. So there are very few control systems offering embedded control cybersecurity. And then there are some issues with the plants which are running continuously where we are not getting systems to upgrade in shutdown because there is no shutdown. Plants like CPP or polyester plants do not go through the shutdown, and then there is an issue with that, and we need to go for an online upgrade in that case. So we will go through a description of Open Process Automation Forum. The facilitating organization in this case is Open Group, which has been around for 30 years, and 25 different standard initiatives in different domains is going on. More than 500 companies are members of the Open Group, and OPAS is one of the initiative. And what OPAF is doing, so it is developing standard of standards and only developing if existing standard is not sufficient. Today, OPAS membership is comprised of around 22 operating companies, 93 members organization comprising end users, DCS vendors, software hardware suppliers, and system integrators. OPAF is following the success achieved in other spheres, like aviation industry had a success with phase standard. Phase consortium was sponsored by Open Group, and that is a role model for us. Telecommunication industry transforming by moving from closed proprietary to open standards enabled ability to handle huge volumes because of SDN and virtualization. So this is the partial list of companies that are members of OPAF. Current members count is close to 100 companies, having steadily grown from 57 members in last 3 years. The forum was started 3 years back. So it is a global forum with users from all places and many names you could recognize. So Reliance is one of the OPAF member. So you can see the Reliance name appearing here. So first I would have to say that representation of the entire ecosystem of process control industry is working towards a common vision, and that is very impressive. Secondly, I would have to say that diversity of other end users from process companies. When I find so much common ground with representation from oil, gas, pharmaceutical, pulp and paper, I know that OPAF will succeed. And speaking of other ecosystem, I expect that the role of the system integrators will grow in importance as process automation opens up to real and sustained innovation. So let us go through the benefits of open standard. So we first discuss about the closed versus open. Currently installed control systems are predominantly closed and proprietary. This is in contrast to the open interoperable network of instrumentation devices below them and information technology systems above them in the typical automation hierarchy. Closed and proprietary systems are expensive to upgrade and maintain, and challenge when trying to insert a new technology, especially from the third party. In contrast to these open systems, our standards-based architecture enable development of fit-to-purpose systems consisting of cohesive functional elements acquired from independent suppliers and integrated easily via a modular architecture characterized by open standard interfaces between the elements. It has the benefits of improved operation, multi-vendor interoperability, continual upgrading. Security is designing and not bolted on right from the start. Allows for flatter architecture model with easy access to the data. So we go through OPAF goals and values. The key principles and goals are based on key principles were derived from needs of the end users. It depends on the availability of state-of-the-art technologies and the advances in published certifiable open standards. It is a standard-based component architecture which leads to easy migration, easy upgrade when necessary, and standard interfaces. Sourced from multiplicity of vendors, create system of assets not constrained to a single supplier. So how OPA is different? The end result of OPA standard is to have a vendor produce the components, whether hardware or software, that will be tested and certified as conformant, and thus have all the benefits that we have discussed so far. The forum accomplishes this by focusing on defining interfaces and data models while leveraging existing standards to achieve things like portability, interoperability, and other quality assurance using the existing standards. Only if existing standards are not adequate to solve the business problem will then forum will develop the new standards or encourage the liaison partners to develop the new standards. But what end users like about the OPA standard is that components have to meet 100% conformance. The forum has testing and certification working group to evaluate the testing and certification process and make recommendation back to the forum. So we'll go through the ecosystem roles. As has been said earlier, OPAP is a standard made up of many other standards. We in the forum are working closely with the variety of organizations which are liaison partners like ISA, NAMUR, OPC Foundation, CSIA, and others. What we have found is that many of the interoperability issue and or security issues that OPAP is addressing. And we have found that many end users in OPAP are already involved in these other standards as well. So there is a lot of synergy, and that has helped us to go faster. So let us discuss about the ecosystem of OPA. So in the traditional DCS system, one vendor put together the whole system as per the specification given by the end user. There was no flexibility to put it a fit for purpose system, and what components you received were dictated by what relationship the vendor had with the suppliers. But in the new ecosystem, you have the end user writing the specification against which the system integrator would then assemble the best components, whether they be software or hardware, and assemble a system that is truly responsive to the end user needs. The beauty of this approach is that once the interfaces are defined, integration becomes less cumbersome, and there is not a need to spend much time for writing the custom software. Remember also that different parts of system reach end of life at different times. The wires may last for decades. The processor may only last for a few decades. So you have some applications running in obsolete processors. In addition, the system would become readily upgradable with the new capability as they become available because of the open interface. In this ecosystem, the service provider does not have to be the same vendor as the one that is providing the complete system, freeing up the market for specialists to create the systems. For the DCS vendors, they can then specialize on the pieces they are able to differentiate upon rather than be forced to adopt compromises based on integration issues. So we'll go through OPAP working groups and status. So as you can see, the leadership is provided by different companies. There are 4 working groups, which is business working group, enterprise architecture working group, technology working group, and certification working group. These are the 4 working groups. Then you have conformance certification working group was started recently, and a lot of work takes place in the technology working group. As you can see, there are 9 subcommittees working below technological working group, and these are the main group which are providing technical inputs. So as you can see, these are the publications available for download. In 2018, business guide was released. White paper was released on OPAP, and technology architecture snapshot was released. 2019, you can see version 1 of preliminary standard and version 1 final standards were released. 2020, already version 2 has been released and work is going on version 2.1, and OPAS certification policy has been released. So you can Google the open group on and then you can go to that website and download these publications available on that site. And lastly, we will go through what is happening at the business working group lately. So we have helped publish 2 versions of open standards, that is version 1 and version 2. Version 2.1 is in progress. We are working on version 3, which will be very substantial. We have improved our outreach and our ability to tell the OPAP story and the value proposition so that we are seeing more members and more traction. What I am perhaps most excited about are the real world events that are demonstrating early success and OPA standard. Many companies have initiated test beds, POCs, and other demonstrations. And the forum itself has sponsored its first interoperability workshop in 2019 and expects to host similar events in last quarter of 2020. So we'll go to technology working group status. So as you see, OPA standard are being delivered in parts. So there are total 9 parts representing OPA standards, and version 2 was published late in 2020. In 2019, we did our first interoperability workshop. 15 suppliers prototypes, components from different vendors were tested. The demo of interoperability was successful. So in of 5 parts of version 1, you can visit the Control Global website. You can see there the parts descriptions are available on the website. Version 2 is focusing on configuration and application portability and additional networking infrastructure requirements. The goal is portability for function block application, signal configuration, and alarm configuration across multiple vendors configuration tools. An additional goal is set of common services for configuration, upload, download, and application. So OPA standard being delivered in parts. Technical architecture was only part 1. Cybersecurity is in part 2. Data model and communication standard is in part 4, that is based on OPC UA. Systems and network management is in part 5. Version 2, in version 2, part 6 covers configuration portability, alarming, IEC 61131 and IEC 61499. And physical embodiment of the DCN is covered in part 7. So version 3 is our biggest undertaking yet, really where the rubber meets the road in defining end user and use cases, connectivity between different subsystems, application lifecycle, orchestration, and the actual software execution engine are among the things which will be covered in version 3. So this is another way to look at how we have broken down the challenges of creating OPA standards. So version part 1 covers connectivity and interoperability, that is highlighted over here. So this covers up part 1. Part 2 covers configuration portability using XML AML that allows different suppliers to interact with each other and other systems. So this portion is covered in part 2, and rest of the portion will be covered in part 3, which covers application portability, end user application or software product from software supplier, addressing how can we enable software to be run on OS from different suppliers. So that will cover application portability. So now we will discuss actualization OPAS from concept to reality. Forum members are not waiting around for the finalization of standards, but have actively started to put together proofs of concept, prototype, and demonstrating systems. There are some real investment of resources, money, and time committed to the forum in advancing the work. We have seen vendors and suppliers and work has been put to produce software consistent with the vision of interoperability and open interfaces. As an initiating member, ExxonMobil has done some pioneering work in building proof of concept with Lockheed Martin as system integrator. So what we are seeing is that operating companies spending money to bring OPAS in real-time application. So first interoperability event was held in June 2019 to test against V1 focus on communication. The session brought together 15 members who brought a variety of components to test. Session was week long and goal was to verify communication, troubleshooting, fixing issues. Event was a success and participants learned a great deal. For getting to industrial readiness, ExxonMobil has started a test bed with system integrator as Yokogawa to evaluate OPAS standards and components being built to standard and concepts that are significant to EM. The Woodland test bed facility is now operational, where the test bed is built and developed and commissioned. Collaborative partners can use this facility to test their components. ExxonMobil has financed the creation of this test bed. Collaborative partners can bring and test components there. Some other operating companies are CP, that is a collaborative partner. As you can see, Aramco Services, Reliance, BASF, ConocoPhillips, Dow, GP, and Linde. These are the collaboration partners who can bring their components and test at the test bed built by ExxonMobil. So these collaboration partners are operating as a group for a year. 2 telecons are being held every month, and technical issues related to test beds and new technology testings are being discussed in the telecons. After the test bed, ExxonMobil is progressing towards industrial field trials of the system in preparation for deployment of operational facilities. Each partner is also moving towards building a test bed at their own location and then progressing towards the field trials. So we'll discuss about the OPA prototype testing, which was done by ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil built a pilot unit. The impetus of building this unit was to show that we would be comfortable to make and use such prototype system in a real application using high pressure, high temperature, and involving hydrocarbons. So this facility was built at Clinton, New Jersey. There were 126 IO points. Temperature was 600 degree Fahrenheit and pressure was around 1200 psig. This unit was working there successfully, and then after some time it was decommissioned. So this unit was built by BASF and shown at Namur General Assembly in November 2019, where ABB, Wind River, Phoenix Contact were the suppliers of the components. The pilot plot demonstrated the principle of OPAS and MTP. Open process automation demonstrator showing agile proof of concept with non-critical process, interoperability via Ethernet using OPC UA, architecture with DCN, connectivity framework and advanced computing platform, and basic security features such as VLANs for segregation and prioritization. The key message is that operating companies are spending money to build and validate the concept of open interoperable control components. The operating companies are hiring system integrator to test and create system in anticipation to anticipation of OPAS standards. So we will summarize the presentation. So as you can see, the open process automation forums selecting standards version 2 has been published. Version 2.1 is under review and it is going to be published by fourth quarter. Version 3 will probably going to publish next year. So all end users, DCS, OT system integrators can participate in technical committee and share your experience based on to shape the standards. Critical mass of end users are required for the open forum. So what are the key success factors of OPAS? Sufficient supply of OPAS compliant components from all vendors. committed system integrators to build the system and then increase value capture demonstration. So how do you learn more about OPAF? So you can visit OPAF website, that is www.opengroup.org/OPAF. Join the OPAF via LinkedIn group. Review the FAQ available on the Open Group website, and you can contact the Open Group members. The email addresses are provided here. You can contact them and get the details on the Open Group. You can write to me as well. I can provide information which is available with me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Divyan, for an excellent presentation. You covered almost all the aspects of OPA, and they shared almost all the links. I hope the delegates will get benefited from your presentation. Before I let you go, from my side, I would like to ask you some couple of questions. What is the plans of Reliance for sort of implementing it? Are you going to try it as a pilot basis, or you will wait for some more time for the testing to be completed?
So as on today, we are preparing our specification to build and test this system at as a test bed. So once it is successful, we are going to move to field trial. So at a place where non-critical process is working, and then we can put the system and see the operation of the system.
And then I have one more query on this configuration. So you said now that we are dependent on the DCS vendors for upgradation, and it takes sometimes months or years for a major upgrade. Now with this new configuration of OPA, are we going to depend on more on system integrators than the DCS vendors? Because we are going to be dependent on system integrator for providing, integrating the commercially available hardware and software. Are we going to become more dependent on system integrators?
So it is not like
what do you see is the future? Yeah.
So it is not like we are going to be dependent on system integrators. System integrators role is going to increase because finally we will be giving our specification to system integrator, and they will be getting components from different manufacturers, which are the best of the breeds available in the market, and they are going to integrate the system. So once the system is built and operational, if you have to upgrade something, you can upgrade part by part. So you can upgrade one DCN at a time. So you can purchase on your own the DCN and you can replace it. So I think after first commissioning, you don't have to depend on so much on the system integrator.
Great, sir. Thanks for the excellent presentation. And then I hope to see you continue connected and then keep upgrading, keep updating the data from your side. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.